Hey, Greg, it's a big day of breaking news, and we have a ton to get to. The White House struggling to deal with a surge in COVID cases after the president repeatedly promised to shut down the virus. Restrictions are coming back in blue states as a top official says one mandate could be made permanent. And the White House playing cleanup over a Kamala Harris interview that went completely off the rails. But first, President Biden's agenda implodes after moderate Senator Joe Manchin says he's a no on the massive Build Back Better spending plan, the squad going nuclear over that.
We all knew that Senator Manchin couldn't be trusted. The excuses that he just made, I think, are complete.
Let Mr. Manchin explain to the people of West Virginia why he doesn't have the guts to stand up to powerful special interests.
He is obstructing the president's agenda.
We are not going to let people play these games anymore because they are relying on norms of the old boys club.
Senator Manchin calling out the president's staff for the breakdown after Jen Psaki accused him of betrayal. The press secretary trying to strike a softer tone, but sticking by her harsh statement last night.
I think the lengthy statement that I issued yesterday outlined pretty specifically the events of the last few weeks. And it was important to the president and to all of us to make that clear to the American people. We don't have regrets about aggressively communicating about it and making sure people understand that if we don't pass this legislation, costs for the American people will go up and economic growth projections will not go in the right direction.
If there's one thing we love at the 5, it's a media montage. Here's some media reaction immediately after Joe Manchin broke that news on Fox News Sunday with Brett Baer.
Some breaking news. Senator Manchin has just said that he is a firm no on this legislation.
Manchin is a mercurial person to be dealing with from people I've talked to within the White House. We know this to be true. And he, may want to be a kingmaker in some ways when it comes to this legislation.
This is Joe Manchin wanting to extend the Joe Manchin show, period.
So they say they want to continue on and see if they can get him to come around. But how about this for persuasion tactics?
I really enjoyed that audible gasp. It sounded like somebody was getting a foot massage. Maybe Tubin was around. But that gasp tells you how emotionally invested the media is in this decision. They were never debating the merits or the contents of the bill. They just wanted a victory at any cost, never mind what it would do to inflation. And everybody knew it would be a disaster. And they didn't care about what was buried in the bill. It was just kind of a naked tell when you heard that, whose side they were on. And then you sit there and you go like, okay, whose fault is this? Because we just saw that the squad was just about on every single show. So it wasn't like people were keeping them quiet. They had every moment an opportunity to explain why this bill should be the best thing since sliced bread. So you can't blame Manchin. You actually have to blame the Democrats like Joe Biden, who did not have the guts to stand up to the militant progressive wing of their party, who turned an infrastructure bill into a candy land of Marxist, dreams and junk science and junk economics. Lastly, it's like if you think about what liberals consider heroes these days, obviously Bernie Sanders, but you have like Lynn Cheney. You have Adam Kinzinger. You got John McCain. These are all these people that stood up and speak truth to power. Manchin just did the same thing. Yeah. Why is he considered not part of the cool group? I mean, when McCain did it, it wasn't really a non-principled rebellion. It was because he just didn't like Trump.
Or think of when McCain voted for Obamacare.
Yeah.
They praised him then.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then here you have Manchin doing a principled stance, and they're all pissed off about it, but they didn't seem to be that pissed when Lynn Cheney and Kinzinger and McCain are all doing it because, Trump, evil orange man.
Okay, what about the Biden agenda? What does it spell?
First of all, what the hell am I doing here? I'm sitting in Geraldo's chair and Harold's chair.
Well, you can even curse on the 5.
What's that?
I said you can curse on the 5.
I am allowed, right? Yeah. 7-second delay.
But you didn't wear a tie.
I think that, I was taking the day off, or the afternoon off anyway. I think if you were paying attention to the case at hand, Senator Manchin made his intentions clear the entire time. Over the summer, he went to Chuck Schumer and he said, I'm good for $1.5 trillion. And then through the negotiating process, he upped it to $1.7 trillion. There was a report today that he went to the White House the other day and said, I'll go to 1.8. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what's reported. September 29th, and Dana, we talked about this earlier in the show. Manchin put out a statement. He said, what I made clear is that spending trillions more on new and expanded government programs where you can't even pay for the essential social programs like Social Security and Medicare is the definition of fiscal insanity. He's always mentioned means testing. He's always mentioned work requirements. Without A and B there, you're back to welfare in a significant way built into this bill. During that interview with Brett yesterday, Manchin mentioned a hearing from 10 years ago. It was Joint Chiefs Chair Michael McMullen, I think it was 2011. And he was asked the question, what's the biggest danger to America? And his answer was our national debt. Well, in 2011, our national debt was $14 trillion. Today, we're at $29 trillion. We've easily doubled that since then. Manchin hasn't changed. He has felt this the entire time. Why did this fail? If you want to find faults, look at the president and look at Democrats in Congress with a 50-50 Senate and a 4-seat majority in the House. They overplayed their hand, and now they're stuck with that.
Now they're stuck, and they're also, I think, being quite condescending to the people of West Virginia. Just take a listen to Senator Manchin, what he said on a local radio show today.
Surely to God we can move one person. Surely we can badger and beat one person up. Surely we can get enough protesters to make that person uncomfortable enough. They'll just say, okay, I'll vote for anything, just quit. Well, guess what? I'm from West Virginia. I'm not from where they're from, and they can just beat the living crap out of people and think they'll be submissive, period.
Dagan, you're always sticking up for rural America, and West Virginia has a mostly rural state.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez couldn't win one county in the state of West Virginia, and they made the critical mistake of underestimating somebody because of where they're from. And people from the South have historically used that to their advantage. It's like, please assume that I'm stupid because I talk funny. Please assume that you can get one over on me easily because I'm from Virginia or West Virginia. And then you sit back and you watch their, as I've said before, their pomposity melt into horror when they realize they've lost. But these temper tantrums that they had on national TV, and I'm talking about AOC and her clique, since when do temper tantrums make you look strong? They look weak. They're a party controlled by petulant children. Veruca assaults. I want it and I want it now. They're mad and they're stomping and they're blinded by ideology. And this is not the work of pragmatic people. Danger is inside, and Manchin said this on that radio interview, that he said it's not the president, it's the staff. It's the progressive staff, Ron Klain and the people he hired, who are pushing this far left-wing agenda at a time when the Medicare is running out of money. So the Wall Street Journal wrote today in the editorial, like, is he gonna, if he wants to make a pivot, he's got to jettison
Manchin says today,
and everybody,
Lawrence, that he and Biden together had an agreement that they were going to do a joint statement saying we're going to push this off, we're going to do it in March or April. And then Manchin said, well, but the White House then put out a statement blaming him, and that's when he decided that's enough.
I'm compelled to believe Manchin because he's been consistent. And I also think, in that statement from Jen Psaki calling Manchin essentially a liar, the audacity. I mean, Joe Biden's compass should be Manchin's based on what they promised during the presidential campaign. Remember back on the campaign, Barack Obama got involved with the race after saying behind the scenes that Joe was a joke. He forced Buttigieg out, Klobuchar out, because they were afraid that someone like Socialist Bernie was going to get the race. And so they forced all these people out because Joe was the guy. But Joe changed once Georgia happened. He went from being moderate Joe to saying, look, I think we can actually be progressive. Bernie flipped and said, oh, he may be the most progressive president. AOC flipped, and the whole squad coalesced behind Joe Biden. But they didn't do that with Manchin. And so I think what you're looking right now is that, the political compass of Joe Biden used to be Joe Manchin's. And now he's trying to pretend like Joe Manchin changed when he really was the one to change. And I think the voters see this. And I think this is why the Biden agenda is dead, because he never really had a compass.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.